both on the international and national level. So we are in the absolute best hands here of the officials up at the starting line. And we will see these crews kind of start to get locked in. You'll see them square up and come to the catch. Looks like that might be happening now. I'm not entirely sure.
Take a look at the tower behind the stake boats there. That's where we'll see the flag go up when the race is about to start. So as the boats continue to get their points, keep your eye. There's a man in a yellow jacket there. The starter, he's about to hold up a orange-yellow flag. And when he puts that down, that is when the race is allowed to start, often at the discretion of the stroke seats, which is really interesting because, you know, the rest of the boat has to respond. So all of the rowers are likely looking up there at that flag, but you need that stroke seat to get things started.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, too, because the coxswain doesn't want to sit there and look behind him or her the entire time. We do rely on the stroke seat quite a bit, stroke seat and 7 seat quite a bit to keep an eye on that flag. And again, as we've said before, as soon as that flag even twitches, it doesn't have to be all the way down. All it has to do is move. You can take off on the starting line. So we will keep an eye out for what is happening now here in lane 2, Rollins, lane 3, Mercyhurst, and lane 4, Jefferson. So a little bit of a steering correction right out of the blocks, which is pretty common. It's unfortunate, but it is common. We do see that sometimes. If you have a little bit of an imbalance in the press there in those first few fractions, but it looks like all crews are back down the center of their lines as we kick off the women's D2 Varsity 8 Grand Final.
Yeah, so these 3 boats actually raced yesterday in a heat, just the 3 of them. They finished with Mercyhurst, who's currently in lane 3, out in front with a time of 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Just about 20 seconds behind them was Jefferson, who currently is in lane 4, and Rollins was another 17 seconds behind Jefferson, and they are sitting in lane 2. Obviously, race just getting started here. Mercyhurst looking good, but through the first 300 to 400 meters, definitely looking like a closer race potentially on our hands than the heat yesterday. Specifically between Rollins and Mercyhurst, I'm sorry, Rollins and Jefferson, as Mercyhurst begins to walk through here as we get into this base of the race. We've been talking a lot recently about kind of how after the start you get into this base rate, and this is kind of when the boat is at its speed for the first time, and you'll really see which of these boats has the most speed, as they're still pretty close together. But you can see here Mercyhurst through the base of the race now, beginning to peel away a little bit from Rollins and Jefferson.
That's right, and we have Mercyhurst here rowing at about a 36.5, 37, so not too bad out of the starting line. And what you will see after those high strokes of the pry right off the starting blocks, and then those high strokes, which typically are above a 40, you will see these crews make a massive shift in stroke rate. So you should be able to see it, as I say, all the way across the river. Should be a massive shift, but that doesn't mean a loss in power. So we do bring the stroke rate down. We shift into a bit of a longer stroke. We start to open up the hips a little bit more, swing the back out a little bit more towards the bow, and bring that stroke rate down. However, we also put the pedal to the metal when the blade is in the water. So we do a big power shift there, and you should be able to see that reflected in the puddles that are being pressed past the stern right here. And I think we are seeing it now in this Mercyhurst crew.
Yeah, Mercyhurst hailing from Erie, Pennsylvania, rowing up there on the lake, the Great Lake of Erie. You know, just barely out in front by open water here on Rollins. Rollins with a really impressive race. Again, Jefferson beat Rollins fairly handily yesterday in the heat. Interested to see how that takes shape over the next 1,000 meters as our leaders pass by the Camden County Boathouse and make their way to the 1,000 meter mark here. Really nice shot of our leaders from Mercyhurst. And just to give them a nice little shout out for some coordination, check out those visors. Looking real nice there and in coordination. You'll have to see it.
You really do. And, you know, I want to point out this Rollins crew, too, just as a little side note, just again, a little pearl of wisdom here to keep in the back of your mind. They did get 7th, let's see, I believe in the women's V8 at Sierra here. So again, they have raced very recently in this lineup. So keep in mind that this is a lineup that has raced together very recently before. So it is nice to see them out on the water again, getting more experience before they come up against the formidable Mercyhurst crew, who is showing no mercy at this time. I'm sorry, I had to make the really bad pun. I apologize for that, but we really are seeing a phenomenal row from them at this time.
Yeah, Mercyhurst now with about a length, maybe a little bit less of open water to Rollins. Rollins looks like they have about just a boat length lead on Jefferson. Maybe a little bit of open water there now. We'll see how that plays out. Into the third 500 here, it's Mercyhurst, Rollins, and Jefferson. This is, of course, for the Backey Trophy, the Women's Division II V8 trophy. Of course, those on the Schuylkill River will be familiar with Henry and Bunny Backey, benefactors to so many programs across the Schuylkill River, including my alma mater, St. Joe's Prep.
You know, one thing we haven't really mentioned is the preparation for the sprint. Now, we've talked a lot about the sprint and how we bring the rates up and we hold a certain rate through the body of the race. However, there are some things that actually do happen that a coxswain is likely, again, this depends on the crew, but is likely to be calling in preparation for that sprint. Now, Joe, can you tell me a little bit about what you are used to hearing or something that you think that we might hear from a coxswain that a crew should be doing, again, in preparation before that rate starts to come up?
Yeah, so right before that sprint, you'll often take a 10 to focus on leg drive. That's a lot of what I'll hear from the coxswains in my experience is that, all right, right here, we're going to focus on 10. We're going to try and take 2 to raise the rate here with just leg drive, because they know as we get closer to the end of the race and they want that rate to come up, the rowers are going to start to get a little bit looser. Things are going to start flying up to the start a little bit more. So to get us prepared, they'll say to you, all right, let's get a 10 here to really focus on trying to get that rate up with just our legs. So you'll do that, and then that will kind of help to get the boat moving a little bit more, get the rowers in a flow up to the catch a little bit faster. If you can get those legs down just a little bit faster. From your experience as a coxswain, what's something that you would call to focus on?
Yeah, that's a really great point. For me, it's loose legs. So I like to kind of, like you said, just get the crew loose and kind of primed, and then I give them a big heads up that we're going to actually sit up. We're going to start cutting that layback just a little bit more, and exactly what rate I want them at. So a lot of times I'll go one pip at a time, 2 if I really have to. But if I don't have to go to that next level where the wheels might spin off, I try not to take my crew there, but I do kind of tell them, all right, guys, it's time to dial in. We're going to sharpen up a little bit. Time to sharpen up the blade work here, kind of like this Mercyhurst crew. And now we're going to cut out the layback just a little bit. So we're going to start to sit up. Stay with me. Here we go. And we're going to enter those red buoys, that big chute, and we are just going to take it home with the hips, hips, hips all the way. And we are seeing it here. Beautiful finish from the Mercyhurst crew, if I'm not mistaken, out of lane 3.
Yeah, it looks like Mercyhurst will take home the Backey Trophy here at the 85th annual Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta. Mercyhurst takes home the gold. We'll wait on Rollins here. There's Rollins crossing for second place. And after Rollins, of course, is Thomas Jefferson University. All right, just 6 more races here on our slate. We've got a petite and grand final for the Division III Women's Varsity 8. And then, of course, our petite and grands for our Division I men's and women's.